We're back. Can you guys hear me? Can you two
Yep.
hear me, Jim, Austin?
We're here.
Good to see you, my good
We're all
friends.
here.
My dear friends. We're gonna have a crazy night tonight. What's the plan?
First up,
I think
we're gonna let them take a peek at the new commercial.
Look at you on task as I chat online. So yeah, we're gonna show the new commercial. Let's talk about the old commercial first, Jim. Can we?
Yeah.
So 2 years ago, we did a commercial, the America commercial. I love that commercial. I'm still proud of that
Good
commercial. Tell the folks how we made that commercial. What did
We
we
bounced
do?
from place. We bounced from place to place. I think we hit a farm or two. We hit a restaurant. We hit the statue in Lockport. I think I was on Dramamine. It was a good commercial.
So we had the script. I told them what we wanted to do, and they're like, I think we can do this. But then they took us all over these little spots they found, and they picked the spots. They did when I say they, I mean the production company. And we really wanted Jim to be in it. I really wanted my mom to be in it. And Jim is a veteran, and he stood in front of the Veterans Memorial, and he has his infamous scene, Jim, because you had vertigo.
Oh
at the
yeah,
time.
it was awesome. I mean, let's talk about how that scene was even set up. I mean, the day before or 2 days before, I ended up with vertigo, and I didn't quite know what vertigo was, but I couldn't stand up straight, let alone walk. And I went in to a physical therapist, and he said, "Okay, what you got to do is you got to train your brain that you're not dizzy." And I said, well, "That's gonna be fun." And then they gave me a little. I said, "But I'm feeling nauseous." And they go, "Well, we got this drug. We'll give you that'll take the edge off." And I said, "Okay, thanks." So they gave that to me, and it knocked me for a loop. And so that's the day we went shooting, and we went, and they asked me to say a line in the video, and as they were shooting, they kept saying, "You're weaving," and I says, "I'm not weaving. The world's moving." But the bottom line was, it was the vertigo still kicking in. But they gave me the craziest line of all lines, which I don't think I could say it straight. My line was, "From sea the shining sea."
Yeah, that's not.
And I kept saying, "She the shiny she." It only took
for 2 years since. Every time we see you, we're like, "How's the she to shining she doing?"
That's one of my shining.
I love it, Jim. I love it. It's my favorite part of the commercial.
Oh, not
From
mine.
she to shining she, and you can see you like waving back and forth a little bit.
That's right. He the shining sea. I was seasick. Oh, the other part that was really disturbing to me. I mean, I am a veteran, but I'm an Air Force veteran.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The crew shows up, and I say to them, "Look, I'm a veteran." They said, "Well, we're going to get a veteran's hat." Da da da. I said, "Well, make sure it's Air Force, okay?" So what do they show up with? Army. My Air Force buddies have been ribbing me ever since. "You're on camera with an Army hat on, Sharp? We're Air Force." Well, so I've been taking a ribbing for quite a while about that advertising. But it was a great.
Well, I appreciate you. Listen, we filmed you this time, and you looked like $1 million because you have the most dangerous man alive beard, and you're like this handsome fella nowadays. And I think they left it on the cutting room floor, Jim. Your scene, but there may be another one in the road. We have the footage. You did great. Your acting was fantastic, Jim, this time.
I have acting?
Yeah, you and me pretending to have a conversation. Do you remember?
Yes, I do remember.
Yeah, your acting was
great.
great.
That whole conversation was real, because the bottom line is, you are going to win this race. This is going to be a race you're going to win. This is your day. This is your time. This is going to be yours.
Well, I got to say, listen, Jim. You know, listen, I love you like a father. You're the best. And this is the problem with Jim. Everybody who meets him feels that way. Austin?
We love you, Jim.
Everybody does. Everybody who meets Jim, I'm like, man, this guy he's a mentor to us all. And if we win, half the reason I'm going to be happy is because we get to share that success with you, Jim. You're the greatest. You are the greatest Seriously, the best. You're just a good man. Jim, you ready to
Thank you for those words.
We all feel it. Everybody who's around us feels it.
Yes.
Everybody, from my children to my staff to my family, everybody loves you. And you know,
Yeah, I love you all as well.
So let's show the new commercial. So the new commercial was made. Austin, why don't you give us like 30 seconds of the new commercial?
So it started off. The consultants wanted a scary voiceover. Chris Jacobs wants to, and we said no. You said,
God, yeah.
Let's give Nate. Nate did it. You did it. I'll give you the credit. You said no. That's not what we're doing. So you had the idea. Let's bring in some union guys. Let's have them tell the truth about Chris Jacobs, and that's just what we did.
So by the way, your sister's on the line too. She says people love his sister even more. We do love Bev. Bev, hey, by the way, all the people who say they like my hair, Bev has created this hair. Like I used to slick my hair. I used to cut my hair super short. I used to buzz it. And Bev slowly persuaded me to grow my hair out, and she's cut my hair ever since. So sometimes I think I look like the prince from Shrek, like with the long flowing locks, but Bev has done a good job with it. She cuts your hair too, Jim, huh?
Yes, he does.
And nowadays
30 years. Maybe 50.
Now I go with my children, and we all, like when I had the old haircut, I used to have a brush cut. She said, "You got to grow your hair out, Nate." So I grew it out, and I was slicking it. And she's like, "You got to stop that hair." She's like, "You got to stop." And I was like, "Well, I like it." And then she slowly told me, "Why don't you grow it a little bit? Let's grow it a little bit more." And then I got really long, and then she said, "You got to cut it." Speaking of this, Jim, do you have you have a story about Joe Biden and his hair? Why don't you share that?
Oh yeah. In 18. I mean, in 18, I thought it was pretty cool when Biden decided to show up and actually talk to you. I mean, you're going to have a afternoon with him. It wasn't just like, well, let's go to a shot, take a picture or two, and then on your way you go. No, Biden actually decided to come and spend time with you to get to know you. And I thought that was pretty cool. I mean, they spent the entire afternoon. And of course, I was looking at Nate all the time and saying, Nate, you got to follow this guy because this guy's got to be one of the smoothest guys I've ever seen when I've seen him afar about how he actually works with people and talks to people and just walks up and starts a conversation. I'm kind of jaded in politics when a politician goes around me because I kind of know that they're going to do something, but they're not real.
Move.
Yeah. I mean, they're just not smooth. And so when you turn around and said, I said to you, I like to meet Nate. I like to meet Biden. And you turn around and said, oh my God, yeah. So you said to him,
before you go any further, I have to say, because a lot of people are mad at me because they think I had control of the day. We had no control of the day.
You did not have control of that.
I snuck Jim into the restaurant with my son.
Yeah.
Against the orders of the Secret Service.
Exactly. I mean, I got reamed out for the same thing, Bob. Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell me? And I said, I was told if I said one single word, that Biden would be out there in 30 seconds. We would not.
I told Jim, you're not supposed to be there, but I'm going to tell you when it's time to listen. I probably will never get a security clearance for saying this, but I wanted you to be there.
So when Biden turned around, I'm sitting here going, okay, how's this guy turn around and start a conversation with a guy that really basically knows how politicians work. And the thing that got me was that when I was heading towards Biden, Biden turned around and looked at me and he pointed up to my hair and he said to me, if I had that hair, I would run for president of the United States.
He did.
I mean, I looked at the guy and I could not help but to laugh and smile.
And then
I'm sitting there going, I was not ready for that conversation. I'm not ready.
Jim,
that was just awesome.
Jim, you immediately turned into a 12-year-old kid that's excited to meet him. It was so much fun.
I turned around and said, if you do run for president of the United States, you can count on me to be on your team. And God bless him. Here he is, and he's running hard. He's running drunk.
We all told him to run that day, and he's like, I don't know. I'm like, people here love you. I told him, listen, Joe, they love you up in Western New York. We have the polling. They love you. He's like, really?
Yep.
I'm like, yes, they do. You're a working class guy from Pennsylvania. Of course we love you. That was a fun day. Anyway, sorry to get everybody off track. We're here for the commercial. You guys ready for the commercial?
Drum roll.
Austin,
ready.
Looks half asleep.
It's been a long day.
Austin, are you ready?
Your mom's watching, and I love it.
Oh, hey, boy. What should I call her?
Call her
Mama
mom,
Morgan,
weirdo.
The problem is I'm like the same age as Austin's mom. She's a very young woman. So okay, here we go. We're gonna do it right now. What should we say? This is our second commercial. Again, as Austin said, they wanted to do a tack ad. I said, I don't want to do a tack ad. I don't want to scare people. Their proposal, and Austin will back me up on this, was Chris Jacobs, and then say everything evil Chris Jacobs has ever done. They gave us a draft. I said, nope, I'm not going to put that in people's homes. I'm not going to scare them. I know it's Halloween season. If we're going to do a more aggressive ad, we're going to do it the McMurray way. So we did it the McMurray way, and I'm proud of it. So roll the film, Torrin. Roll the film. I'm running for Congress to protect Social Security, which kept my family afloat when my dad died. While other politicians...
Hang on, Nate. I'm going to stop you right there. Chris Jacobs wants cuts to Medicare and Social Security.
Which means Chris Jacobs is threatening our retirement and our health care.
He's out of touch, and that hurts Western New York families.
Anyway, I'm Nate McMurray. I know we can do better. I will always work for Western New York families, and I approve this message. And so do we!
I love it.
I love it.
Well, thank you to our good friends. I mean, Lynn, Lori, and Dan. We had about 30 people do interviews, and they picked 3. That's the editor, that's the director. They picked the ones they wanted, and those are the words of those people, and they said what they wanted to say based on their experience and based on their interactions with Chris. I should mention the teachers, the retail workers, the federal employees, the UAW, United Auto Workers, and just so many, the nurses, so many other groups have endorsed me. None of them, I repeat, none of them endorsed Chris Jacobs. And if you look at his campaign financing, it's a joke. Pages of insurance PACs and insurance lobbyists and banks, Goldman Sachs. These are the people who are giving to his campaign.
The NRA.
My support, the NRA. My support comes from the people you saw in this ad, and I love it. Let's show it one more time. Or maybe not. Oh, here we go. I'm running for Congress to protect Social Security, which kept my family afloat when my dad died. While other politicians...
Hang on, Nate. I'm going to stop you right there. Chris Jacobs wants cuts to Medicare and Social Security.
Which means Chris Jacobs is threatening our retirement and our health care.
He's out of touch, and that hurts Western New York families.
Anyway, I'm Nate McMurray. I know we can do better. I will always work for Western New York families, and I approve this message. And so do we. You guys, AJ likes it. Bev likes it. Chuck likes it. They like it. I'm proud of it.
They love it.
It looks sharp, right?
Absolutely. And I think there's a real value. I mean, look, we could have filmed a commercial with you attacking Chris Jacobs, but I think it's important that we allow the union people who have been silenced by the last couple of Republicans to have their say finally.
By the way, the version they wanted me to do, I was scared by it. It would have scared me. So this is the version I'm proud of, and I'm proud of these commercials. I'm proud of every commercial we've ever put out. They've all been good. So now should we go to the debate?
Let's do it.
So before we do that, I'll say quickly, we've been trying to do a debate with Chris. We've asked him in numerous different ways. He said no to numerous television stations. He didn't show up to SUNY Geneseo. He didn't show up to WXXI. I mean, everybody. He said no to everybody, and nobody else will do it except for SUNY Geneseo. They did one with me and Dwayne Whitmer, but none of the other organizations would do it without Chris showing up. It's a joke. He hasn't had a town hall. We used to always talk about Chris Collins' town halls. When's the last time Chris Jacobs had a town hall? There are 27 districts in New York State. There are 6 Republican districts. None of them do a town hall. It's a shocking thing. I think Tom Reed does town halls, but besides that, there are no town halls. Chris wouldn't do a debate. He did the St. Joe's debate because it was not televised. Again, because it was not televised. And he did the St. Joe's debate because probably of his personal connections to the private schools in Western New York and Buffalo. He probably felt obligated from a personal reason to do it because, I mean, that's where his friends and family went to school. To not to St. Joe's, but to Nichols and maybe a long time ago to Canisius. So he did it, and I thought his performance was even more troubling than the first time. The first time he wouldn't answer questions, but this time he lied. The first time he just wouldn't answer questions. This time he was just making stuff up. So we're going to watch the whole thing live and comment on it. I will pause it here and there. Jim, this is going to be a long session. Are you ready for it?
Yes.
Get your kid. Roll the tape, Torm. We gotta get going quick. Jim,
Let's go.
Politicians, they served strictly out of public service. This was not merely a job, but a mission to build a new form of government established by the framers at the Philadelphia Convention. The compensation back then was an unbelievable $6 for each day work. So we sit here in our gym on Kenmore Avenue at our beloved St. Joe's, 231 years later, to continue the proud tradition of political debates for public office. Public forums were a mainstay in the early years of our nation, but often have been replaced by slick campaign commercials, sound bites that tell us virtually nothing about our candidates. However, this morning, we have the opportunity to hear firsthand from the candidates their political beliefs and vision for the 27th Congressional District. This year, our nation will not only be electing the President of the United States,
can we fast forward it or no?
but the entire 435 members of the House of Representatives.
Probably not, right?
A special thanks to Mr. Line's advanced placement.
Here we
Chair
go.
of the Erie County Libertarian Party.
So as we're fast forwarding it here, I want to say thank you, Torn. How amazing are you? I want to say to everybody at home that those opening comments were spot on. We should have debates, like he said, right? Like Mr. Lima, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Like Mr. Lima said, we should have debates because the debates allow us to get beyond the slick commercials. Any comments on that, guys?
Like I said, who does the comment about slick commercials and sound bites remind you of? Chris, Trump, Jacobs.
Right. Exactly.
They're not slick.
Okay.
This is just bites.
His commercials are just nonsense. But anyway, let's go to Mr. Jacobs' first comment.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jacobs, your opening statement, please.
Thank you very much. I'd like to first thank Ted Lina and the students here at St. Joe's and St. Joe's Collegiate Institute for having this event again this year. From what you've done over the years and the students' conduct here and questions, really the St. Joe's debate has become the gold standard of debates in the election cycle as we move towards November 3rd. It's great to be back here at St. Joe's. I've been here many a time in the past, long time ago, for sporting events when I was in high school and dances here, I think, right here.
Look at the rich little smile on his face.
With public disclosure, I did attend the other Catholic school down the street on Delaware Avenue.
So they only has 1 minute speech.
Little consolation.
He's trying to connect to the people there, and I was looking at the kids in the audience. I'll tell you right now, they weren't connecting to his stories whatsoever.
Teams and really credited his time here at
Everybody knows St. Joe's
in the
part of our
classroom and on the
community.
field
I don't understand the
as
point,
so
but-
formative to his decision to go into public service as a physician in our area. I've been in the Congress for several and been very busy getting the offices back open. When I announced a year and a half
His
ago to
offices
run,
are half
I said
closed
this district
still.
deserved full representation and it wasn't getting it. I realized how
Geneseo
bad it
certainly
was.
wasn't
We got the
open when the
office,
windows
all
were
the
blacked
offices
out.
had been closed,
Yeah,
all
and
the
there's
employees and the
delivery
congressional
notices
staff
all
let
over the
go.
door.
So we've been very busy getting the operation
Well, where
back
has he
up and
been?
running.
That's the
Fully
question.
staffed up again now, I'm proud to say, in Washington, legislating down in
Well,
Washington.
he
And as
needs
important,
staff because
we
he
got
keep
the
voting
offices
wrong.
back open and staffed up here to deal with the constituent and casework issues that are very important at
He
congressional
literally brags
offices,
about bringing back
working with people who are not
$50,000.
haven't got their stimulus checks yet.
I know,
We've got the
50,000.
That's a shock.
veteran
That's a
community
shock.
and others that have real
50,000,
needs.
he bragged
I'm proud
about
to
it.
say in the last 3 months, we've helped over
They keep talking
secure over
billions,
$50,000
trillions. Talking
Listen to
in
50,000.
monies that our citizens
$50,000.
deserve from various government entities. As far
That's
as
a
in Washington,
shocking
I've been
figure.
very
That's
focused
so
on
low.
helping to
It's
get us
incredibly
through
low.
this
That's
corona
almost like
crisis,
not doing
to fight for
anything.
more funding, critical funding, so we can get through this healthier and stronger.
You voted
Thank you
against the
very much
HEROES
for having
Act,
me.
sir.
Thank you, Mr. Jacobs. Our next opening statement from Mr. McMurray.
Here we go.
You guys comment on me. I don't want to do
Good
that.
morning. Thank you to St. Joseph's Collegiate Institute for having this important debate. And I echo the sentiment stated earlier. These types of debates are essential to our democracy. It's sad that this is the only debate featuring all three candidates. Mr. Whitmer and myself had a separate debate last night. It's too bad we can't have more debates. It shouldn't just be about sound bites and commercials and money. It should be about the ideas and the policy positions that we represent. My story is different than a lot of candidates' story.
Here we
You
go.
heard earlier in my introduction, I grew up one of 7. I worked my way up, started at community college, went to law school, became a Fulbright scholar. I'm an Eagle Scout. I came back in the private sector, in the public sector. I brought millions of jobs and investments to this region. And I thought I could do better than Chris Collins. You may remember 2 years ago, I stood on this stage with an empty podium. He wasn't here.
Just
Because
you
his
and Fix
party
It Larry.
protected him. And they've been protecting this district for a
Oh,
long
yeah.
time. The district that you've been tricked to believe that we had representation when we had none. Tom Reynolds was the representative. He resigned or retired in disgrace. Then you had Chris Lee. He retired and resigned in disgrace. Then we had Chris Collins, who now sits in a prison in Florida. And people told you to keep the seat red.
Cushy
Vote
prison.
party over
Finally.
Yeah.
We need to fight. Politics of power.
Prison is
corruption.
nicer doing than a lot of people's
That's why
homes.
I ran 2 years ago, and that's why I'm running again. If you remember one thing I say today, please remember this. I will fight for the middle class. I'm a product of the middle class, and I will represent the middle class. And that means fighting for health care for every single American, fighting so that you're not stuck with student loan debt for the rest of your life, fighting that everybody that earns that Social Security can keep their Social Security and doesn't put it at risk. Again, I'm backed by almost every major labor union, United Auto Workers, the teachers, the nurses, the AFL-CIO, and I'll fight for the middle class.
Thank you very much, Mr. McMurray. I will
There we
begin
go.
the first round of questions. with
That's what
one
a
of my
human being
own.
sounds
We'll
like.
begin with
not a
Mr.
politician.
Whitmer, and each candidate will have, as I said earlier, 1.5 minutes to respond,
How
and
did I
there will
do?
be no rebuttal.
Oh,
As
I
each
thought
of
you did
you
great.
are aware,
I
the
think you're spot on.
COVID-19 pandemic
I
has had a major
think the
impact on
issue
the
is
world,
that
our
we
nation,
need representation.
our
The middle
state,
class is shrinking, and we
our
can't allow
schools.
that to happen.
In
Let's.
March of this
Sorry,
year,
I'm sorry to do this to
St.
Dwayne. I
Joe's,
love
along
Dwayne,
with
but I'm
all
gonna.
the schools in
Dwayne's
our
Dwayne's
county
answer on
were
COVID is
forced
that
to
the private
close
sector
due
should be
to
more
an
involved.
order issued by our governor.
Can we? Well, do you want to listen to Dwayne's
Churches,
answer? Let's move forward to Jacob's answer on the COVID. Sorry, Torin.
Guys,
Thank you very much.
By
Mr.
the way, I
Jacobs.
think Dwayne
We
does
love
great
Dwayne,
most
but-
nights. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ted, is it the same
I'm not trying to pick a
Yes.
fight with Dwayne
Oh,
tonight. I'm
I
trying to
think
pick a fight
that,
with Chris,
you know,
who
look,
I
this
think
has
is the
been an
forerunner
unprecedented,
and the sitting congressman.
crisis that we've had here, and it's a global
Front runner.
pandemic and nothing we've seen since the Spanish flu of 1914. So no one has gotten it perfect. I think the president has done a good job. He's
Everyone else has
Oh.
gotten
taken
it way
swift
more
action
perfect than
in terms
Trump.
of closing travel from China. which
I don't
believe
get that
saved
whole
hundreds of
conversation.
thousands of lives. He commissioned the Defense Production Act so we could turn around very quickly, making more ventilators so people can
After
have ventilators,
months of us
PPE
needing it.
gowns. We saw in New York City when we were in the midst of the crisis in New York City, bringing the USS Comfort to New York City to provide aid there, and also the Army Corps of Engineers, converting the Javits Center nearly overnight into a hospital. So it's very significant
Sure,
actions that
Cuomo
he has
directed
taken.
that one.
And what we're going to see, I think, the most significant is the rapid turnaround and bringing to market a vaccine at record times, Project Warp Speed. And we believe, and what I'm hearing is it may be as soon as before the end of this year.
A lot of people are saying
There's
what I'm
never been
hearing
anything
is
close to that. So a lot that has been done. Now, is it perfect? Absolutely not. And as a global community, we have not gotten this right. And what we really need to do, we need to work together, not point fingers at who did what wrong, work together to make sure we get through this, we get through it stronger, and we make sure it never happens again.
Can you
Okay,
pause it for a
same
second?
question,
Can you pause it
Mr.
for a second?
McMurray?
No?
Yeah,
Hold on,
he
let me
did.
Pause it. Let me say a couple things first. Go ahead, Jim.
No, to me, it's like you wait for somebody to get hit by a bus, and then you pull them back before the bus hits you and say, I just saved your life. I just feel the man has turned around and lied so much to us. He should have told us the facts. He should have told us up front, this is bad news, prepare for the worst. Not say, oh, it's going to go away. I mean, I just find that obscene that he did that.
I just watched the new Borat movie, okay? In the Borat movie, he invades Michael Pence's speech. And Michael Pence is in the speech basically making the same points that Chris Jacobs just made. There's 11 deaths. We did everything we could to stop those 11 infections. We did everything we could to stop them, and I promise you that Donald Trump will have it down to 0 in no time. They've been saying the same thing since February. I mean, it's if anybody tries to justify this is a good job, look at. I don't want to say this to people. Your family may die from this. I mean, they may die. People you know may die from this if they haven't already. Like I don't say. I just cannot believe take that clip from Jacobs and realize if he could spin this like that, how could you ever trust him to say anything? Go ahead, Torrin or Austin.
I mean, yeah, you're exactly. He's saying that 225,000 Americans dead isn't perfect, but what are we gonna do? Right? It is what it is.
Do you remember when I had that woman Alice Tan from South Korea on the live stream?
Yeah.
And how she was like, I was trained in California. I don't know what you're doing. The techniques we're using in South Korea, we learned in California. I learned in America, and we're in part. And we can do this. You guys have the best biotech industry in the world. You're not doing. Let's be honest. The reason why it wasn't done is, number one, the guy's disorganized. He just can't do anything. He's been a lifelong failure, like Chris Jacobs. Let's be honest, who failed at the medical industry and everything else, and his parents always bailed out, just like Trump. He's a mini version of Jacobs or of Trump, just a lot more wishy-washy than Trump is. Trump's more, aggressive. But a very similar pattern of lifestyle. Then moved into politics and has been just sitting in politics, not doing much. Trump is also disorganized, can't do much. And I think on top of it, he didn't want to face the reality because he's never had accountability his entire life. Like when Jim, if you didn't do well at your job and you lost your job, you weren't eating. Austin, you know what that's like. I know what it's like. These guys don't know what it's like. They think they can just bluster their way through everything because there's no reality for them.
Nope.
And I think that Trump just blustered his way through and there's no reality for him. But we're feeling the reality. It gets me so angry because people's lives people are dying. And and many, many more are going to die this winter. Okay, let's play my response. I don't even remember what I said.
To answer the question, President Trump has failed. There will be books written about this. It's a historic fiasco. We have about 4% of the world's population and 25% of the world's deaths. And here's the worst thing about it. He lied to us. He knew how dangerous it was. It's as if someone was hiding outside your door ready to attack you, and he knew and he didn't tell you. He figured you'd fight it off yourself, or maybe it would be okay. It's a historic fiasco. Now, he can blame China, he can blame anybody he wants. Taiwan has millions of interactions with mainland China. They have 7 deaths. 7. Erie County, where we sit right now, has 700 nearly. And it's just not Taiwan. Look at other countries, New Zealand, South Korea, so many other countries that are using people trained in our schools and our technology to overcome the virus, to test, track, and trace. For months now, Mr. Jacobs is making excuses for President Trump. President Trump has been saying it's going to disappear. When there was 11 infections, he said, oh, it's going to disappear soon. It'll disappear in April. Now, thank goodness, St. Joseph Collegiate Institute is asking us to wear masks, unlike the event that Mr. Jacobs attended at the White House, where so few people wore masks. And these events that we're seeing across the country where President Trump says, we want it over. Of course we want it over. But the only way you overcome challenges that are real is by taking steps to overcome them. And it's been a failure.
Thank you very much. We will now begin our panel questions.
Good
Each
answer,
candidate
Jim?
has 1.5
Good
minutes.
answer. Good answer. Good answer. Good answer.
We'll have a
When you hear that
45-second
bell,
rebuttal.
I stop.
We're going to begin with our first
I try to
question
be, I
to
try to be
Mr. Whitmer.
respectful of the time.
Mr. Whitmer,
There's
you
a
had
bell?
stated that
Missed it.
if elected, one of your main goals would be to reduce.
Sorry, Dwayne.
Actually-
Dwayne was just talking about reducing the national debt.
Yeah, it's
The,
a priority.
When the kids were asking their questions, I'm shocked, Nathan, because I really couldn't understand them because they were so blasting in sound. I was sitting there going, I would miss that question that they were even trying to give to you because I'm sitting there going, what do they say? I'm going, whoa.
But Jim, I've seen you debate. All you do is be nice to everybody the whole time.
I love you guys. Okay. The love fest.
There we go.
Has millions of interactions with mainland China. They have 7 deaths.
We're fast forwarding, don't worry, folks. Forward's on top of things.
My TV does this every once in a while. It keeps repeating itself. My wife keeps saying, why is the TV doing that?
By the Warren Act, where Halliburton made $1 billion and Dick Cheney profited off of
This is
deaths
good.
of
Leave it
my
here.
friends and family. So yes, I support that bill.
Thank you. Your rebuttal, Mr. Jacobs.
I think it's a very important question. The budget and growing budget deficit is
I
going
can't believe
to
how
be
bad he is at
very
speaking, considering
significant
how long he's been in public
issue moving
office.
forward. It was
Right.
a
He's not
problem
smooth.
before the COVID crisis, and unfortunately,
I think it's
leadership
because
did
he's not sure what he's trying to
address it
say. He
when
doesn't
they
know what
had
he
more
believes.
wherewithal to do it. Now the COVID crisis is
So-
He's
happening.
trying to
We
remember
have
his
get
talking
through this
points.
battle. We need the resources to keep our economy
So while Trump's
going
there,
during
he
this
can
battle.
spend this
But after
into
we
debt.
get through COVID,
But
a
that's
major
when he
priority
leaves. They're
will
going to go
be
back
a
to, we need
task
to balance
bringing
again.
down this deficit. So
Yep.
I mean,
the children,
I
the
don't get
students
it.
here and
They're
your
president,
kids will not be saddled
They're
with
Republicans are in,
insurmountable
spend.
debt because of
When are
irresponsible
we gonna wake
activities of this government.
Jim.
It needs to be thoughtful.
Hold on.
We had a while ago
Pause
something
it for a
called the
second. I'm sorry.
sequestration, which was across.
Jim, you were my deputy supervisor on Grand Island. How did we do on the budget?
We did awesome on the budget. We walked in with a hole in the budget. We went, in our second year, we basically were faced a huge debt on the sewer side of it. And the bottom line is we're talking about even going over the tax cap of the 2%.
Yep.
And by the end
We
of the day,
we
were
figured it
supposed
out.
to budget around, and we actually pulled the sewer district out of its debt in the following budget and actually brought the town of Grand Island another
It makes
$2
me
million in surplus.
it makes me so mad. And we had the highest credit rating in the history of the town. Surpluses.
Absolutely.
We kept to the tax cap, and they run
Yep.
commercial. And President Trump says I raised New York State's taxes, and
Yep.
and it just makes me so mad.
I know.
We had one of the best
Budget.
fiscally best. We had one of the fiscally best towns, not only in Western New York, but probably in New York State.
Exactly.
What a
And it
joke.
probably was saving the town
Guys,
right.
if
so
you're
they
out there, go look at the numbers. Our numbers are great, way better than anything that Jacobs has ever been in charge of.
Exactly.
Keep going with Jacobs. I'm sorry.
We managed the budget. We did the budget. We managed
We fixed it.
Yes, we did it.
The board cuts. Can't do that. We need to be more thoughtful and look at each agency and how we do things more efficiently.
Oh, we're going to cut people.
Thank you. Your rebuttal.
Yeah,
Mr.
that means
Murray?
cutting the EPA,
time
cutting
out.
the
Time out.
Department of
Under
Ed.
the
Right.
Trump- what, on the local level, that was the thing they always wanted to do. Anytime we had
Right.
a problem, they wanted. Listen, this is what drives me
Cut
crazy
people.
about. And if anybody from Grand Island besides Bev is listening, well, Bev knows too. If anybody from Grand Island's listening, The only answer they ever had for us is to fire everybody at town hall.
Yeah.
The problem is all those folks who are Republicans voted for the Republican board. And I'm like, oh, those people that wanted to fire you? The people that always wanted to take you out? It's really ludicrous. But anyway, keep going.
Administration, our national deficit has grown by trillions. Our trade deficit has grown to the largest amount ever, to $600 billion. We are in financial shambles. And what did we go in debt for before the coronavirus? What did we go in debt for? Did we go for some new discovery? Did we go to build infrastructure for this country? Did we go to provide health care to our people?
Great point.
We provided a tax cut to people who are already wealthy. The tax cut under President Trump. President Trump had control of the entire Congress, the executive branch, and the courts. The one thing he did is not provide a tax cut for the middle class. He provided a tax cut that gave 85% of the benefits to 1% of the population. He bankrupted our country, not for the promises he said he would fulfill, but to give his friends more money. And during this crisis, we see a bloom in the billionaire class.
Thank you very much. Our next direct question to
Exactly
Mr.
right.
Jacobs.
Yes. There's only one piece you missed, Nate, that I think you should have added. The bottom line is, instead of spending money on the infrastructure, he decided to spend billions and billions on a wall. Our bridges are falling down, our roads are falling apart, and he had to build a wall.
50 miles of a wall that he promises Mexico would pay for.
Yes.
It's cost us billions of dollars for 50 miles of wall that's falling down. Look, they're going to write stories about this guy. He is the worst. He is so inept, it's ridiculous. I mean, good point, Jim. Let's keep going.
A major issue in his 2016 campaign and has in his re-election campaign as well. You also include this issue on your website, but do not elaborate on what you believe the problem is or how this issue should be dealt with.
Immigration.
By all accounts, this is a complex issue and involves approximately 14 million undocumented immigrants living in the United States. The issue is multifaceted in that it deals with border security, the dreamers, what to do with the millions of immigrants already here, and a possible pathway to legal status and citizenship. What are you most concerned with, and how do you plan on dealing with this issue?
Keep it rolling through.
I remember when President Bill Clinton was speaking at one of his State of the Unions, he said, we are a nation of immigrants, but we are also a nation of laws. And that's really what I believe. When I was county clerk, I attended.
You can't get the Trump off you, Jacobs.
Passports.
He's trying, isn't he?
Citizens. Every month I would go to the federal courthouse for the
this
naturalization
is the guy
ceremony.
who warned us of caravans coming.
Folks have never
this is the guy that used stock footage of hordes of people overcoming the wall.
And every
this
month,
is the guy who had a video of him driving around a truck.
Of immigrants
like he was an ICE officer.
And actually, my wife
this is the guy who said and would not say Black Lives Matter. This is the guy, I can go on all day. He is such a fake. And then he talks about his wife being an immigrant. Great, so is my wife. The problem is, you hurt my family, who's Asian, because you ran a racist commercial about my family. On top of this, you also put out a racist flyer about my family and my connections to Asia. I didn't do that about your connections to Eastern Europe or Russia, did I? I would not do such a thing. I believe his wife is from Eastern Europe, which is great. I would never disparage him for his connections to Eastern Europe.
Immigration reform.
But my wife is an immigrant too, and you refuse to vote on a law that
also, I would just mention a big issue in the 27th
condemns
district
racism against Asian people during this period of time.
Migrant visas
so how do you
for
think that makes us feel about you,
dairy?
Mr. Jacobs? After Build the Wall Jacobs, now you have this guy talking about immigration and how much he loves it.
Mr. Jacobs sounds very different today than he did a few months ago, when he was running commercials, vilifying immigrants, showing pictures of a wall and how tough he was driving around in a truck. It's a very different story today. We have to secure our borders. We have to keep people safe. But this is a country of immigrants. All of us come from immigrants. And we have to understand that there has to be comprehensive immigration reform. NY-27 is an area with plummeting population rates. It's a place that we need migrant workers. And our farmers have been asking for immigration reform to the people I talked about earlier, Collins, well now to Jacobs, and to Collins, and to Lee, and to Reynolds for generations. But instead of doing anything about it, they gave into bigotry and hate to get people angry, to get your vote.
Thank you. Your rebuttal, Mr. Whitmer?
Where people and services don't cross borders.
I love his answer. Hold on.
I want people from all over the world to come to Western New York, eat our beef on whack, eat our chicken wings. You guys can charge $10 and give them a tour of the school. I think that's wonderful.
I love that too.
Immigration. We need to allow an easy pass type immigration where if you're certified in another country, let them come here, let them spend their money here, let them go back home. I'm okay with that.
I thought that was the best answer Dwayne gave. If we can create commerce through more visitors,
it takes the power from the cartel. We stop locking up African American.
I agree with this.
Well, it's exactly what we do with Canadians coming across the border from Toronto, right?
Yes. And I agree with what you're saying about the drug war too. This is the best answer Dwayne gave all night.
Problem solved. We need real solutions. We don't need party line bias. We don't need party line agenda. We need real solutions, and
yeah, I agree with that. Dwayne,
Thank you.
100%.
Our next direct question to Mr. McMurray.
Mr. McMurray, you're a supporter of the Medicare for All Act.
Yes, I am.
Which is widely recognized as single payer, and its plan would largely replace the private health insurance system.
No, it will not.
In a single payer system, how would the American people be able to keep their current doctor that they have come to trust if a majority of the private health insurance is replaced without significantly inconveniencing the average American?
Wait, pause it for a second.
Well, first I want to say that we are the only developed country in the entire world.
I like his point I'm going to make here, but Mr. Jacobs, are you watching? I doubt it because I don't think you really care about any of this stuff and you just have a bunch of staffers do it. But if you are watching, I want to talk to you for a second. No one will ever delete from the internet your advertisement, your racist advertisements from the special election. And no one ever will erase from the internet your appearance on that stage in Hamburg where they hung the governor in effigy and beat him with a rifle. Thank you. Keep going.
Entire world that does not have universal care. The only country that's a developed country in the entire world that does not provide universal care. We have the most expensive system with some of the worst results. And we can see how tragic that is right now in the height of this pandemic. I promise, and I say this with all fervent, the full commitment of my heart, that when I go to Washington, my number one goal is to make sure every family in Western New York has health care. No exceptions. Now,
I love saying that. I know
it
makes them uncomfortable.
In the UK, you have socialized health care. Single payer is something you see like in Canada, where you have private providers and you have a single payer government system that controls costs. That's why you have lower healthcare costs in Canada than the United States, lower drug costs, lower pharmaceutical costs. I'm not about denying you care or the care you want. I'm making sure that every single American has care. And I'm willing to work with people like President Biden on options to get us there, but hopefully President Biden, but whoever is in the office, to get us there. What I'm not willing to do is accept what we have today, which is ludicrous, where we have people literally dying in the most wealthy country in the world, being denied care. So many of our people, the only care they can get is emergency care at urgent centers in the wealthiest country in the world. How is that acceptable? It's not acceptable. That's why I'm so committed to changing the system for the better.
Thank you. Rebuttal, Mr. Whitmer.
Hey, can we
If you
pause for a
like your
second?
doctor, you can keep it. That was a failure.
He's gonna say if you like your doctor, you can keep it, and it's failed. Is anyone out there with insurance unable to go to their doctor? I mean, most of us can pick the doctor we want, right? I mean, there's the networks that are existing are not because of the ACA, which provides 60,000 people healthcare in NY27. The networks that exist are private insurance networks that prevent you from going to the doctor you want to go to.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't understand. Listen, and I lived in South Korea, which is a single payer system. I never had a problem. Any clinic in the neighborhood I could go to. It was completely available. It was like off the charts available. I was a foreigner, and I could get like care for a few dollars, even like intensive care. I've been very sick, and I was taken care of in a foreign country because of their system. The system's not perfect, but clearly during the pandemic, it's working better than our system. Let's fast forward to the next talking point by Jacobs. While we do that, what did you guys think of my answer?
Taken
Go ahead.
massive donations from.
No, I think your answer was spot on.
Thanks, Joe.
Healthcare is one of the many topics in public policy where American exceptionalism leaves us far behind the rest of the world. We refuse to believe that we're fallible, and we do nothing to make the system better. It was what, 2010 when we passed the ACA? What have we done in the last 10 years to increase coverage and lower costs? Trump's done the exact opposite.
I don't think it's just our pride. It's greed. Let's be honest.
Yes.
I mean, the reason why we have the most expensive system in the world, like I was talking to somebody earlier today. Do you guys understand that you supplement the pharmaceutical industry for the entire world? Everyone that's an American citizen supplements the pharmaceutical industry for the entire world. Let me explain why. And anybody who denies this, tell them, look into it. It's 100% true. Germany, Australia, Canada, all these countries negotiate drug costs. Japan, South Korea, they negotiate drug costs. In America, there is no negotiated government drug cost. It's whatever the market can afford. The problem with the free market applying it to medical issues is if you need a life-saving drug, the market value is potentially limitless, as you can see from insulin or millions of other drugs that have been jacked up in prices. Now, I agree. I am a capitalist. I believe in markets. I agree there has to be an incentive, a capital incentive, profit incentive for these companies to do research and development. They have to have a return on their investment. The problem is all the return comes from America because other countries keep their costs artificially low because ours are artificially high. So Eli Lilly and Pfizer and all these other ones, their costs are sky high in America because they know they have no limits. There is no regulatory limits on costs, barely any. So they can jack the prices up, and guess what? That allows them to negotiate lower prices and give the people of Canada, the people of Germany, the people of Switzerland, et cetera, lower and lower prices. If you don't believe it, talk to somebody who works in the pharmaceutical industry. We supplement the entire world, and I'm sick of doing it. And if you don't believe Chris Jacobs is bought and sold, look at who his investors are. Go ahead. Any comments on that, anybody?
Well, I think that everybody's got to understand why in Obamacare they had everybody turn around participating. I mean, the concept was pretty cool, and that concept was that old and young would participate at the level that they could afford. But that meant that the money was there to take care of everybody and keep the cost of the program down. The only side of it was, I want to be able to not be part of it. And therefore, if you were mandatorily in the system, that was the bone of contention. So what Trump did was, I'm just going to make sure that it isn't mandatorily applicable to anybody. Therefore, what happened? The cost of the services did go up. So Obamacare became more expensive as it went along. It's cheaper than what the public market's bearing, but it's still cheaper. But he did raise the cost of Obamacare, hoping that the cost would be seen as exorbitant and basically try to kill it. So to me, it was all game.
2/3 of Americans support Medicare for every American. 2/3. It's not an extremist view. It'd be higher if you didn't have guys like Jacobs attacking it 24 hours a day. It would be much higher. And by the way, in the UK, in Canada, no one runs on a platform of taking away healthcare. It would be career political suicide to do that. They all run on a platform of what? Expanding their healthcare options. Joke. Keep going.
You can keep your doctor. You can keep
the Hill
your
says
healthcare
69% of voters support Medicare for all.
They were lies. I'm not, as my opponent, is for socialized medicine, government taking.
No, I'm not. I'm for single payer.
I think we have very few, if any, examples of government taking over something and running it well.
Then why is it so popular in Canada and the UK?
And we need to focus on affordability. Whether you're talking about
so what are you going to do about affordability? Is your brother-in-law who runs one of the biggest hospital networks in Western New York going to work on affordability for us?
The rest of the world by
Can I call your brother-in-law and get him some answers on this, Mr. Jacobs, the guy who lives in the house you grew up in?
We need to get our arms around prescription drug prices. Why are we
What
so
if
much
your
higher than
brother-in-law
other
doesn't do
nations?
that?
And we need, as Wayne mentioned, more transparency so the market can make smart choices.
Thank you, Mr. Jacobs.
I can't
Our
believe
So we
they're
can
still running
choose
on
where to
this
go
topic.
bankrupt.
I can't believe how many Americans
Mr.
can go
Whitmer.
bankrupt. He doesn't get it because he doesn't ever have to worry about health care. It's so disgusting.
The statistic is something like 2/3 of all bankruptcies include medical debt.
Listen.
Yeah.
I wish we could have an hour only on healthcare because I would just skewer him because what he's saying is so darn evil, and those were lies. The ACA is incredibly popular, and because of the lawsuits like Chris, because of the lawsuits you're funding, millions of people are going to lose care. 60,000 people in Y27 are going to lose care. And if the pre-existing conditions get taken away like you funded, and if you don't believe it, how many times do I got to post the link showing you voted to support the lawsuits to take away pre-existing conditions? How many times do I got to post the link and you keep lying about it? How many times do I have to show your vote? I hope somebody says it in the media before we have the election. I keep sending the link to the media and they won't say it. How many times? Listen, you're going to get your wish. A lot of people are going to be throwing off their insurance, and they're going to be waiting to get insurance some other way. And are you going to do anything for them? I doubt it. Sorry, I get fired up about that because it makes me sick. It's evil.
Thank you, Mr. Jacobs. Your rebuttal.
I've been supportive of medical marijuana. I'm monitoring closely on how we're doing with that, and it certainly seems
How are you
to have
monitoring
a very
it?
good effect. I think there's a lot more studies.
What's the monitoring?
Into it. I am not for legalization of
Look at
marijuana. I believe that it will not make our nation healthier or stronger. We have insufficient data on the impact, especially on young adults, young male adults. I sat on the heroin and opioid task force in Albany. I met with parents, grieving parents who lost their loved ones, who said to me, Chris, if you don't think
Is this
marijuana
1979?
Drug, let me tell you, my dead child is because of a gateway drug. So we need to be very aware of
Wow.
that.
And how
when we talk
can
about
you be
big
for
pharma,
medical
we don't need to
marijuana and against
legalize it,
recreational
pushing
because you think it's a
legalization of
gateway
marijuana,
drug?
Big tobacco. So that should be a red flag on that issue.
Thank you. Mr.
That's another
McMurray, your
position that's going
rebuttal.
to haunt him in years to come.
Legalize marijuana, full stop. It's about time. It would help our farms. We should do it immediately. But I want to go back to the previous question while I have time. We talked about the Affordable Care Act. People said all those scare tactics about it, but it's very popular. Mr. Jacobs signed on to funding lawsuits to take away pre-existing conditions protections that are part of the Affordable Care Act. That's one of the things he did when he was in Congress for just 3 months. That was one of his priorities. He could run away from that record. That's what he did. Beyond that, single payer in Canada is very popular. And has anybody under Obamacare, how many of you have lost your doctors or unable to go to the hospital you want to go to? They use these scare tactics that make you think you're not worthy of care. We need to fight back and make sure every single American has care.
Thank you very much. Our next direct
Correct
question
or
to
incorrect?
Mr. Jacobs.
Austin, I see you nodding your head.
Correct.
Correct.
Let's fast forward to I don't know what's coming up. Well, I know people at home are starting to drop off the stream.
I'm that boring.
No,
We got the loyalists with us.
Keep going here. Let's go up a little bit more. Let's go up to towards the end. What other questions did we go over? Foreign wars.
Abortion.
Let's see the abortion answer because his answer is ridiculous. Let's go right here. Let's see what's up. Let's see what's going on.
Poor Torrent.
Sorry, Torrent.
And Roe versus Wade did not make abortion legal in this country.
Here we go.
It stopped women
I got
from
this
dying.
point. You made a great point here.
Now, you can make any law you want. You can make it illegal. You can fight against it. But abortion's still going to happen in this country. We have to fight to make it safe and available so that people aren't dying. There's no pro-abortion contingency out there. We're pro-healthcare. And if you have a strongly held religious belief, that's fine. We want you to have those beliefs. You can have any belief you want. But imposing those beliefs on others in a secular society is not democracy, it's theocracy. And I will fight for the right for women to choose.
I'm proud of that answer.
Both.
Yeah, you should be. It's a good answer.
I was uneasy about it because it was
I
like
think
3 white
it's
guys on a
important
stage
to
talking
remember
about women's
that many
rights.
countries
It just
tried the
seemed very
opposite.
wrong to me.
To try to make
Exactly.
But I think my
try to
answer was
stop
good.
it. And all
Well,
it's
I did
doing is
notice
making
that the
them
women on the cameras were shooting up
more
further when
harm,
the question came.
more pain.
They all started moving forward with their cameras to start taking
Okay,
pictures of you all.
your rebuttal,
You noticed
Mr.
you guys
Whitmer?
zoomed in on that one.
His reaction is ridiculous.
Oh,
If you can't get it, it's okay, Torin. People are falling asleep. Jim's
I am
falling asleep.
pro-life,
Here we go.
personally.
no, not yet,
I
not
have a
yet.
life voting record. When I was in Albany, I voted against the radical expansion that was pushed in Albany.
Oh, radical.
Late term and partial birth.
They codified Roe v. Wade
I
into
have a,
state law and
pro-life
nothing
voting record
more.
in Washington. I do believe that Roe v. Wade is settled law, and I believe it will.
So why were you opposed to codifying it on New York State level?
Supreme Court, because how long it has been the law of the land. As Dwayne mentioned in terms of state rights, though, even if Roe v. Wade was changed, overturned, it would, for instance, New York State would still have abortion legally. But I believe
what is he
that
trying to say here?
Wade will still be here. I think that to decrease.
He's trying to sit on the fence.
Making it easier for people to adopt.
Yeah.
That they have other options.
No, like it's no issue in New
So
York.
do you,
Our
okay,
next
I want to
direct
say to
question
everybody
to
out
Mr.
there, do you know
Whitmer.
why most people, less than 1% of abortions happen in the third trimester? Less than 1%. Now, if someone was carrying a baby, look at this is not my topic to talk about. I always try to be careful with this issue because clearly it's primarily a women's issue, and I want to be respectful as possible. But less than 1% of abortions happen in the third trimester. Now, why would they happen so late? Because people want to kill babies? I mean, that's disgusting to even to infer. When someone has been carrying a baby for nearly 8 months, 7 months, they're intent on delivering the baby, right? That's why they would carry the baby so long, or the fetus so long. But the reason why they end the pregnancy is because there's a serious health issue, usually at that moment. So less than 1%, and the people that have to have an abortion for whatever reason, whether it's their choice or whether it's their will, but most of the time there is a very urgent issue that requires the abortion to take place. And this is not, listen, no one, and I'll say that literally, no one is getting abortion for recreational purposes, like they try to infer. Every woman takes these procedures very, very seriously. And the way they talk about it, like I know in our little town, Jim, there's a church that puts up crosses every year. And let's be honest, it's horrifying. They fill the yard with white crosses to symbolize all the lost children. Well, what about the lost children at the border? What about the thousands of children that live in NY27 without any single form of health care? What about the thousands of children in NY27 that have to go to food pantries every single week? For a party that has let 220,000 people die, stop talking about, quote, pro-life. You're not pro-life. And the reality is the people who want open, safe, and available abortion are people who are truly pro-life because they understand the complexity of this issue and that the issue is usually taken, or the decision is usually taken, with consideration of life on the highest levels. I had to say that. Go ahead. Austin, any comments? You're falling asleep now too.
No, I think that was as comprehensive and as understanding an answer I think we can expect. But again, let's get more women in Congress, and I think we'll see hopefully something passed federally, maybe even a constitutional amendment protecting this right, so that we don't have to depend on whether or not Amy Coney Barrett gets on the Supreme Court.
Truly. Let's keep going.
The federal crime. Prior to that, a state assemblyman from Cheektowaga and a New York State senator from Buffalo were also in trouble.
Corruption.
Not seek re-election.
Corruption in office.
Yeah.
At least 7 close associates or advisors to the current.
Let's go to my answer, Torin. These are pretty boilerplate answers.
It's because
We're all
the
falling
machine is
asleep.
broken. 2 years ago when I fought against Chris Collins, it was not easy. It was miserable. People attacked me. They spent millions of dollars in commercials to humiliate me. And they did that to defend their power, not to defend him so much, but to defend the power
You're right
of
on.
the party machine. Today,
Right on.
to Mr. Whitmer's comments, there is a problem with a two-party system, but there's also a problem with power versus no power in our society. And
Exactly.
there's groups that would fight for everything. They told people to keep the seat red. And people like Mr. Jacobs, who's been a politician for most of his adult life, he was silent.
So true.
When it was very clear the ethical problems of Mr. Collins, Mr. Jacobs was nowhere to be seen, hiding out, as were so many others who literally campaigned against me during that time. Now, I'm an Eagle Scout. I never stole a pack of gum, and I am going to fight to clean up Washington when I get there. But the problem is too many career politicians, a party machine that defends its own, and too many people who say, put the party over the country. And what I'm asking you guys today is to vote independently. Think for yourself. Fight for yourself. Research the issues. Make sure that we have that change, that we have a representative democracy, because the people of this region are good, and they deserve leaders that are good.
Thank you. Mr. Whitmer, your rebuttal?
That's exactly correct. The people of this region are good, and they deserve a representative that is
Mr.
good.
Jacob.
I ain't perfect, but I'm at least good.
The one thing that I've said over and over, the same people who picked Reynolds, who picked Lee, and who picked and defended Collins, picked Chris Jacobs.
I know.
That's all you have to know about him.
Crazy. How many questions left? Let's keep going,
Washington,
Torrin.
we
I'm
need to
sorry.
send people
I'm starting
with
to fall
ethics-
asleep.
With ethics to Washington. And I will put my record
With
of public
ethics.
service as an
You're
ethical
you're
public
absolutely
service with integrity,
pointless record of public service where you've
forward
achieved
to
nothing
the
except
voter,
for
and
glorifying
I believe
yourself.
they will believe that I have been an ethical
You were
elected
picked to
official.
run for this
I would
position
also
in a
say I've
casino.
tried to be a reformer.
In a
First
casino.
bill I introduced in Albany was term limits. We have too many career politicians.
Did you pass
You
it,
didn't
Chris?
pass
I
it.
supported
You didn't
co-sponsored
pass it. I
legislation to
did,
strip
Chris.
pensions
I passed
from any
term limits
politician
on
who's
Grand Island. The
convicted of
first thing I
corruption.
did,
Third,
you put
I
together a
ended
law
golden parachutes for
that you
people
never,
like water
you knew would
authorities
never pass.
and sewer authorities. We
You
need
didn't do
to do
anything.
what we
It's
can to
all
make
show.
sure that we operate cleanly and the voters, again, believe in the system and those they vote into office.
Thank you very much. I would like,
Wow. A guy who flip-flops and has no integrity, changes his position every week. Yeah, sure. That's the kind of guy we need. Keep going.
Yes, I support President Trump for re-election. I think his national policies, his major policies have been very good for this nation. They overhauled the tax code, which has generated the most robust job-creating economy in decades.
What a
Standing up for
ridiculous
America on
thing
the
to say.
international stage.
Yes,
I know.
I
know.
support Donald Trump for re-election, and I think his policies have done major good in our country.
Pro-American, like the new
What
USMCA,
world are you living in?
and also the integrity that he's brought in terms of reform.
Integrity.
Integrity.
I would also say
Donald
I'm
Trump.
very concerned about Joe Biden's inability to say he will not pack the Supreme Court.
Oh,
And my
that's
opponent
like
has
that's the
said he's
pressing
packed
issue
the
of
hell
our
out of
time.
it.
Not healthcare.
That would be
I
devastating
know it's ridiculous.
to our democracy, the independence of the various branches of government, and undermine the integrity of the democratic process.
Never mind
Your
what
president
Bill
got
Maher is
impeached.
Never
I
mind
didn't
what
rig
Bill
it
Maher
so
is
it's so slanted now it doesn't represent the people of in our country.
Mr. Jacobs, to stand up here and to praise President Trump, given the situation
It is
in our
damning.
country today, especially
Shameful.
the economy. The economy is in a devastated state. But I want to talk about Vice President Biden for a second. 2 years ago, he came to visit me. He was not a candidate. He was a guy who just came at the airport. My brother picked him up. We spent the day campaigning together. He fought against Chris Collins when a lot of people wouldn't. Let me tell you, he's not perfect. He and I don't agree on everything. He's a good man. He's a kind man. He's someone that cares about this country. He will make this country better. You know, even though he's not perfect, maybe a good man is what we need right now. So I support Joe Biden.
Damn right.
thank you very much. Well,
I think these are closing statements now.
you and Mr. McMurray, your closing remarks.
Part of what you're doing today is you're comparing us, right? I'm not perfect, but I don't need to be compared to George Washington or Robert Kennedy or
You
something
got
like
better
that.
teeth than George Washington.
I need you to compare me to Mr. Jacobs, the person who's office right now.
Oh, this is pretty. They were
Mr.
called
Jacobs
Woodies,
has
weren't
been
they?
in
Yeah.
office his entire life. Can you really name anything he's done to make the region better? We just talked about what terrible shape we're in. Well, he was in the state senate. He was at the school board. How are the Buffalo schools doing? He was county clerk. Is Erie County in great shape? We have the worst job market in the entire country, even before COVID. He takes no responsibility for any of this. Do you really think he's going to change things when he goes to office? Really? Do you really think you're even going to hear from him based on how he's hit over the last 3 months? His record in Washington is not good. He has the infamous mistake vote, where he said he voted by mistake. He can't even do the basic job of voting right. And beyond that, he voted against workers. The only law he proposed is to take away the Scaffolding Act that protects unions, the unions that I represent and that support me. Look at guys like me that come from my background, they usually don't run for Congress. They usually don't go to Congress. They don't have a chance. But I promise you, I'm going to kick that door open, and I'm going to hold it open for the next person and the next person and the next person. So maybe you or your kids have a chance to run for office. It shouldn't just be people like Chris Jacobs who inherited millions and millions of dollars. He calls himself a small businessman. He's never been successful in the private sector. I ask you to believe in America, and America is a place where everybody has a chance. I ask you to believe in America where we build the middle class so that we have a hope and future for everybody, not just the most wealthy and entitled. I ask you to have hope for America. I know this is a dark time, a sad time. I know you feel the stress and anxiety. Let me say this to you. It's going to get better. This country has a chance to rebuild itself and to redeem itself. And I hope that you give me the chance to be part of that process, because I love America and I believe in America. And I thank you for this opportunity to meet with you today.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
I thought your closing was just right. It was right on. I thought it was from the heart. I just felt you did a great job on that closing. Couldn't have been prouder.
I think the one part we missed that I liked, I think the part about race and the fact that Mr. Jacobs still refuses to say Black Lives Matter is shameful. But listen, I think if I can be arrogant for a second, I feel like that was there because I felt like I wasn't even talking. I felt like someone was talking through me, and I'm proud of those words. I don't even know where they came from, and I know that Austin knows we prepared a very different ending. And I don't know. I'm glad that I said that. It came from somewhere deep within me, and I feel proud of those words.
I think we all did.
I think we all did. I did.
Thank you, Jim. You're a good man. Austin, you're a good man. Torrin, you're a good man. Any final comments on today so we can go to sleep? Because we got another long day tomorrow. Oh, tomorrow, first day of voting, everybody. You gonna go out there and vote?
Early vote.
Yep. You guys gonna be there for early vote? And then what else? Tomorrow night we have that event. I know, Jim, you can't go.
Tomorrow night in Clarence Center at Root Down Farm, we've got
Jim, it's gonna be fun. Beer, a big bonfire, apple cider sodas. Yeah, you want to come?
I may sneak out.
Votetoberfest.
Wear a mask, Jim.
I'll bring my mask. Send me the address. I'll make my way there.
7 o'clock, right?
5 to 7.
5 to 7. Root Down Farm. I'll send you. Maybe we can go together, Jim. Just text me.
Okay.
And the farm is a cool place. We're gonna have a big bonfire and beer and right, Austin?
Yep. We're gonna have lots of goodies. We're gonna have a good time. I know Cindy's watching. Maybe she can remind me of the gentleman's name. We're gonna have someone playing guitar, doing a little bit of music, and it's gonna be a really nice time. Then on Sunday, remind everyone we got Scare Out the Vote in East Aurora. We're going to do a stand on every corner event. We're all going to dress up for Halloween. And we're going to scare out the vote, remind people about early voting, and make sure that they vote for Nate.
Yes. And I should also say that, everyone, if you've already voted, don't tell me you voted. Go get your friends to vote. Go find somebody else to vote. Look at it.
You plus two.
If every Democrat votes, we're still not going to win. We have to get other people to vote because it's imbalanced. So, guys, get your friends to vote. We need to go get your friends to vote. It's the only way to win. I'll see you tomorrow night, Jim. See you tomorrow night, Austin. Austin, could you get this commercial up on the air? I mean, up on Facebook and social. Is that okay?
I sure can.
All right, guys, and put a link with it so people. But don't just say fundraise. Say this is our new ad. Thank the West. Thank the unions. You know how to do it. You have more tact and professionalism than I do, even. So we'll talk soon, everybody.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Good night.
Thanks, Torrin. Bye.